That's how your kind always ends up on the floor. The sentence cut across the ballroom like a blade. Maya Williams, 29, lay on her knees, her breath knocked out of her. A sterling silver tray rolled away, clattering against a pillar. Bits of caviar, lobster medallions, and champagne drops glittered on the hem of a tuxedoed man now staring at her with venom. It hadn't even been her fault. As she passed between tables, a guest's knee accidentally jutted into her path. She stumbled, the tray tilted, and the contents spilled not across the linen tablecloths but directly down the front of Richard Whitman's tailored Armani tuxedo. Gasps rippled across the room. Phones rose like periscopes. Someone hissed, "Oh my God!" Richard's hand shot out before Maya could even form words. He seized her by the arm, yanking her upright. Champagne dripped from his jacket like sweat. His face, usually the mask of America's most polished billionaire, was crimson now. "You stupid girl." His voice boomed against the marble walls. "Do you know how much this costs? Do you know who I am?" I'm sorry, sir," Maya stammered. Her eyes wide, throat tight. "It wasn't someone tripped me. Don't you dare lie to me." His grip tightened, and then his hand tangled in her hair, twisting cruelly at the roots. "You clumsy little nothing. Made for nothing. Trying to humiliate me in front of my guests?" Maya winced, pain searing through her scalp as he yanked her off her feet. She clawed at his wrist. "Please, Mr. Whitman, please don't," her voice broke. At the edge of the dance floor, Victoria Whitman, 41, stunning in her sapphire gown, watched with an expression hovering between disdain and delight. She raised her champagne flute, her eyes glittering. "She's been trouble from day one, Richard," Victoria said, her voice carrying across the silent guests. "Always slow, always careless. She deserves what she gets." The words landed on Maya like stones. She reached for the floor, trying to ease the pressure on her hair, but Richard only dragged her farther, her shoes squealing against the marble. Her knees burned as she stumbled to keep up. "Please," she cried again, voice rising with panic. "Please, I'll pay for the jacket, I'll work extra shifts, just don't hurt me." Phones captured everything. A senator's wife clutched her pearls. A waiter froze mid-step. The golden image of Richard Whitman, the philanthropist. Wait, before we continue, if this story touched your heart, please hit subscribe. It truly encourages us to bring you more powerful stories. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to know our amazing viewers around the world. The builder of communities was cracking in real time. "Look at her," Richard snarled to the crowd, hauling Maya into the center of the ballroom like a prize to be punished. This is what happens when servants forget their place. No, 3 years she'd worked in this house, scrubbing the polished floors he walked over like a king. 3 years of cold glances, whispered insults, forgotten birthdays, and invisible bruises. She had endured it all for her younger sister's college tuition, for her mother's medical bills, for survival. Maya's scalp screamed. Her vision blurred. In the blur of faces, judges, anchors, CEOs, she saw her father's eyes. The photo from the clipping in Richard's study flashed through her mind. Marcus Williams, killed, paid off, buried. It was about Marcus Williams. Her father, dead 17 years. A construction accident, they had said. A hit and run. Case closed, buried, forgotten. Until 2 weeks ago, when she found the manila folder hidden behind old tax files in Richard Whitman's study. A folder that contained an obituary, a grainy traffic photo, and a note, handled, paid, next to her father's name. She hadn't cried when she read it. She had only stared, then copied every single page, saved it on a flash drive, locked it in her sock drawer. She had planned to wait, build more proof, talk to the right people, choose the right time, but there he was, dragging her across the ballroom like a rag doll, in front of hundreds, smirking as though she were less than human. That was the spark, and something inside her, something she had held down for 17 years, snapped. She stopped struggling, straightened as best she could under his grip. Her chest heaved once, twice. Her eyes, dark and defiant, locked on his. "Murder," she shouted. The word ricocheted off the marble walls like a gunshot. The quartet dropped their bows. A tray crashed somewhere in the corner as a waiter flinched. Richard's grip faltered as though her hair had turned to flame. His hand slipped away. Color drained from his face. Maya stood trembling, her uniform disheveled, her scalp burning. Tears clung to her lashes but didn't fall. Her voice rose again, louder this time, steady and clear. "Murder. You killed him. You killed my father." The crowd erupted in whispers, sharp and venomous. Victoria's smile cracked. "Richard?" she whispered, stepping back. Richard opened his mouth, but no words came. For the first time all night, the titan of industry looked small. Maya, though shaking, stood upright, her chest heaving, the single word still hanging in the air like smoke after an explosion. The crowd didn't move. For a full 30 seconds, the grand ballroom of the Whitman estate was suspended in a silence so thick it seemed to dull the chandeliers. Maya stood still, her breath shallow, heart pounding against her ribs. The echoes of her voice, "Murder. You killed him. You killed my father," still danced on the marble floors like invisible witnesses. Richard stared at her, pale as the marble columns behind him. His lips parted but nothing emerged. His eyes darted to the crowd, scanning their reactions. Shock, disbelief, horror. A few were recording, others whispering with their hands to their mouths. He looked like a man trying to catch a train that had already left the station, bewildered and suddenly alone. Victoria stepped forward, her heels clicking like gunshots. "She's insane," she said coldly. "She's obviously had a breakdown. Look at her, she spilled wine on him, and now she's making up some sob story for sympathy. Richard, say something." But he didn't. Maya stood straighter. Her voice came again, quieter, deeper this time, not for the crowd, but for him. "You thought no one would ever find out. You thought if you threw enough money at it, buried it deep enough, it would stay dead. But I remember, Richard. I remember the night they told my mother he died in a construction accident. I was 12. There was a rustle from the back. One of the older guests, a retired judge, perhaps stepped closer, brows drawn. "What is she talking about, Richard? Is this true?" Maya took a step forward. "My father was Marcus Williams. He worked for one of Whitman Development's early sites in the Bronx. I've seen the payout. I've read the police file. I've read your signature." Richard blinked. You don't know what you're talking about," he mumbled, voice hoarse. "Then say it," Maya replied. "Say his name. Say you didn't kill Marcus Williams." Victoria turned sharply. "Richard, don't say a word. We'll deal with this legally. This girl, this woman, she's trying to extort us." A murmur swept through the crowd. The illusion was unraveling. A few guests had already stepped away. Others whispered into phones. Someone from the press, disguised as a donor, edged closer. Maya didn't wait for more chaos. She turned, her back straight, hair still disheveled, but her walk firm. As she reached the side doors leading to the staff hallway, Helen was there, already holding a towel and a glass of water. "My God," Helen whispered, eyes wet. "You did it." "Not yet," Maya murmured. "But it started." Helen helped her down the hall and into the small break room behind the kitchen. The door closed. The muffled roar of confusion continued behind them. Maya sank into the old wooden chair in the corner. Her hands trembled now that she was out of view. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by something colder fear. "I shouldn't have said it like that," she whispered. "I wasn't ready. I don't have enough." "You had the truth," Helen said firmly. "And sometimes, baby, the truth is enough to crack a man like that." Maya stared down at her lap. "What if he comes for me now? What if he buries me the same way he buried my father?" Helen didn't answer right away. She sat across from Maya, her old hands folded neatly on the table. "Then we make sure you're not alone." Maya looked up. "There's more, Helen. There's a folder in his office documents. Old police reports. Hush money payouts. I made copies. They're on a USB. I've been building a case. Slowly. I was going to release it through a journalist. I was just waiting for the right moment." Helen reached out and gently touched her arm. "And what made tonight the moment?" Maya smiled, bitter. "He grabbed me, in front of them all, like I was disposable, like I was nothing. It reminded me of the night my mother came home after talking to his lawyer. Her face empty, like something had been stolen. He stole her hope. Helen nodded slowly. Then maybe tonight, you stole something back. Maya leaned back in the chair and exhaled deeply. It's not just about me. It's not even just about my father anymore. It's about how many other names are buried under those buildings he brags about. How many poor men of color were thrown aside, paid off, silenced. He didn't just kill my father, he erased him. Helen's face hardened. Then we unerase him. Maya stood. Her legs were steadier now. She wiped her eyes and turned to the mirror on the wall. Her reflection stared back. Not the maid they saw, but a daughter carrying a truth bigger than her fears. I need to send the files tonight, she said, to the journalist. If he shuts me down, she can't be shut down too. No. Helen reached into her apron pocket and pulled out the spare key Maya had given her. It's in the flour tin, behind the rice sacks. If you're still here and enjoying the story, we'd love your support. Take a second to hit subscribe, it really means a lot. I've kept it safe. Maya took the key with a nod. Thank you. You've always treated me like I mattered. Helen squeezed her hand. You do. And your father did too. Maya left the break room and went down the service corridor, passing the wine cellar, the laundry, and into the tiny storeroom where staff sometimes took naps on 30-minute breaks. Behind the bulk rice bags, inside a metal tin labeled cake flour, do not touch, she found the flash drive. She held it in her hand for a long moment. It felt heavier than before. Outside, the night pressed in on the estate. The gala was still unraveling. But Maya knew this wasn't over. She would not sleep tonight. Nor tomorrow. This was just the beginning. The ghosts were awake now. If this story moved you, hit the like button and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. You might just find someone nearby feeling the same. The house was quieter than it had ever been. Not silent, never silent, but quieter. The chandeliers no longer glistened with celebration. The string quartet had packed up. The last of the guests had left in confusion, their chauffeurs ferrying them down the long Whitman driveway, headlights fading into the dark like vanishing memories. But Maya's heart still pounded like a drum, every beat counting down to something bigger, something irreversible. It was nearly midnight when she made her way upstairs. The hallways on the second floor of the Whitman estate had always reminded her of a museum: polished oak floors, velvet wallpaper, portraits of ancestors who had never known poverty, never cleaned someone else's silver. This was a world built on control, order, and silence. But tonight, the silence was different. It was nervous. She paused outside the double doors of Richard Whitman's study. Locked. Of course. It always was. Except Maya knew better. Months ago, during her regular dusting routines, she had discovered that the study's antique brass lock was faulty, a tiny misalignment in the top hinge. If you turned the knob slightly to the left, pressed inward just above the frame, and applied gentle pressure, it would click open. Richard never noticed. Men like him rarely noticed what the help noticed. She hesitated only a second, then pressed, turned, and felt the soft give. Click. The door opened. She stepped inside. The air smelled of cigars and expensive paper. Floor-to-ceiling shelves held books no one read and awards no one questioned. A wall-sized oil painting of Richard posing at a construction site loomed over the room, like a self-made deity watching his domain. The folder had been in the bottom drawer of the mahogany desk, wedged between tax returns and land use maps. She had found it 2 weeks ago while cleaning. It was labeled BX, Site 2008. She remembered staring at it, the letters meaning nothing at first, then recognition bloomed. Bronx Site, 2008, her father's site, the year he died. Maya knelt by the drawer and reached in again, slowly this time, as if the wood might scream. It was still there, now joined by a few more folders dated, marked, hidden in plain sight. She pulled them all out and spread them on the desk. Photos, names, receipts. Marcus Williams wasn't the only one. There were at least 4 other cases, 4 other accidents. A worker who fell from scaffolding, no autopsy requested. A plumber electrocuted, death marked as negligence. A man struck by falling beams, family paid an anonymous settlement. It was a pattern, a system. She flipped the final page of one folder and froze. A typed memo, Insure payment is made through Packshell. No connection to RW Holdings. Initialed RW. She reached for her phone and took photos of every page. The truth had weight now. It wasn't just suspicion, it was history. Documented, hidden, deliberate. Suddenly, the doorknob rattled behind her. Maya's heart leapt into her throat. Footsteps, heavy, slow. She shoved the folders back into place, stuffed the flash drive in her pocket, and slid into the shadows near the tall curtains. The door creaked open. Richard entered. Not in a tuxedo now. Just a crisp white shirt. Sleeves rolled. Top button undone. But his posture still rigid. A man barely holding the seams of his empire together. He didn't turn on the light. He moved straight to the desk, opened the drawer, paused, then cursed under his breath. "I know you took it," he muttered to no one. "You little snake." Maya held her breath. Her back pressed to the cold wall, inches from him. Her scalp still ached from where he'd grabbed her hours ago. Richard sank into the leather chair, rubbed his face with both hands. Then he reached for the decanter and poured himself a drink, neat, fast, desperate. "I made you," he hissed, as if to an unseen ghost. "I gave you work, shelter, a goddamn roof." He drank. "You think you can destroy me over something that happened decades ago?" He drank again. Then his voice softened dangerously. "I will ruin you, Maya." She closed her eyes. When his phone rang, the screen lit up his face. Hollow, wrinkled, crumbling. He answered, "Yeah, I saw the feed. Damage control's underway. Don't worry, I'll handle it. No one believes the help. Never have, never will." He ended the call and sat in silence. After a long moment, he stood and left. Maya waited. 10 minutes, then 20. Only then did she slip out of the curtain, her legs trembling. She had heard enough. And she knew deep in her gut. This wasn't just about justice anymore. This was war, and the first bullet had already been fired. The kitchen at the Whitman estate had always been the staff's refuge. It was where the noise of crystal glasses and piano chords faded into the clatter of pots and the hiss of steam. Tonight, even the kitchen seemed to hold its breath. The smell of rosemary and butter had gone cold. The overhead lights hummed faintly like nervous insects. Maya slipped through the back hallway and entered quietly, pressing the door closed behind her. Helen was at the counter, her hands wrapped around a chipped mug of coffee. She didn't look up right away. Her shoulders were stiff, her gray hair pulled back into its usual bun, though a few strands had escaped, framing her face with worry. "You were in his study," Helen said finally, her voice low but steady. Not a question, a statement. Maya leaned against the doorframe, the flash drive clutched tightly in her hand. "I had to see it again. I had to know if it was still there." Helen turned, her eyes searching Maya's. "And?" Maya crossed the room and set the flash drive on the counter. Her fingers left small, damp marks on the stainless steel. "It's worse than I thought. My father wasn't the only one. There were others men who worked on his sites, paid off, buried, the same initials on every memo, RW. Helen's mouth tightened. She picked up the flash drive as though it were a live coal. "You need to leave, child. Tonight. Take your sister. Take your things. Get out of this house before—" "No." Maya cut her off, her voice sharper than she meant. She lowered it again. "No, I'm not running. Not again. My mother ran for 17 years. She worked 2 jobs, kept her head down, told me to forget. And look where it got her, dying before she could see justice. I won't do it." Helen's eyes softened, but her voice stayed firm. "Justice is a slow horse, Maya. It doesn't always arrive in time." Maya's hands trembled as she reached for a chair and sat down across from the older woman. "I can't unsee his face tonight. The way he grabbed me, the way she—" She stopped, swallowing hard. Victoria was smiling while he did it. "Mo." Helen looked down into her coffee. "She's been smiling through his sins for years." Some people choose comfort over conscience. Maya stared at the tile floor, her mind flashing back to the ballroom. The phones held up like witnesses. The guests' eyes wide. The word murder still echoing off the walls. She whispered, "Maybe tonight. People will finally believe." "Maybe," Helen said quietly. She reached across the table and laid her wrinkled hand over Maya's. But you're still in his house. That man isn't done with you. He's too proud, too scared. You struck a nerve. Maya lifted her head. Then I strike again. But this time, not just with a word. Helen tilted her head, studying her. You've got a plan? Not yet, but I've got evidence. And a journalist waiting, Angela Brooks. She's been digging into Whitman Enterprises for years but could never break it open. Now she has my father's case. The others, the payouts. She's ready. And then what's stopping you? Maya exhaled, her shoulders sagging. I thought I could control the timing. But now he knows. He'll move fast. Destroy whatever's left. Maybe even come after me. Helen pushed back her chair and stood, her joints cracking. She went to the pantry and rummaged behind the flour bins, retrieving an old tin marked brown sugar. She set it on the counter and opened it, revealing a prepaid flip phone and a slip of paper with a number scrawled on it. Call her from this, Helen said. Not your phone. Tell her to send copies of everything to 3 different places, and tell her to have the police ready next time. Maya blinked at the older woman. Helen, why are you helping me? The old cook gave a short, bitter laugh. I started here 30 years ago. I've seen men like him build their fortunes on other people's bones. Your father wasn't the first good man to die for his projects. But you might be the first daughter to fight back. Maya swallowed hard, nodding. Then I'll fight back. She took the phone and dialed the number. Angela answered on the second ring, her voice sharp and awake despite the late hour. Maya? It's me, Maya said softly, glancing at the kitchen door as if it might sprout ears. I've got everything. It's worse than we thought. He's done it before. Several times. Angela's voice steadied. Send me what you have now. Tonight. I'll make sure it's copied to the DA's office, the state investigators, and the press. You're not alone anymore. Maya hesitated, then said, I think he suspects me. He was in the study tonight after everyone left, talking on the phone. He said he'd ruin me. A pause on the other end. He won't, Angela said. Not if we move first. Send the files and stay where people can see you until morning. Do you understand? Yes, Maya whispered. When she hung up, Helen squeezed her shoulder. Good girl. Maya stared at the phone in her hand. Tomorrow, everything changes. Helen gave a small, sad smile. Tomorrow, everything starts. They sat together for a long moment. The kitchen clock ticking like a metronome for destiny. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows. Somewhere upstairs, a door slammed. Maya slipped the flash drive into an envelope and sealed it with trembling hands. If something happens to me, Helen cut her off. Nothing's going to happen. Not while I'm here. Maya looked into her eyes. He killed my father to cover his tracks. You think he wouldn't? Stop, Helen said softly. Eat something. She pushed a plate toward her cold cornbread. A little butter. Your hands are shaking. You need strength. Maya forced herself to take a bite. The simple food grounded her. She thought of her father's laugh, his rough hands holding her small ones while they built birdhouses on their porch. He used to say, she murmured, truth doesn't die, it just waits. Helen's eyes glistened. Then make it wait no more. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Heavy, purposeful. Both women froze. Maya's heart lurched. She slid the envelope under the cutting board. The kitchen door opened. Richard Whitman stood there, his white shirt sleeves rolled up, his eyes 2 chips of ice. He didn't speak. He just looked at Maya long and hard as though memorizing her. Then, slowly, he smiled. Late night snack? He asked. His voice was soft, but the softness was worse than shouting. Be sure to clean up when you're done. He closed the door without waiting for an answer. Maya sat rigid until the sound of his footsteps faded. Helen whispered, It's begun. Maya nodded once. Yes, she said. It has. By dawn, the Whitman estate looked exactly as it had the day before. Immaculate gardens, glistening windows, the early hum of the staff preparing breakfast. But behind the walls, the air was different. Heavy, charged. Maya stood in the hallway outside her small bedroom. fully dressed in her staff uniform, though she had no intention of serving coffee this morning. Her eyes were dry, her hair pinned neatly, her hands tucked into the pockets of her apron to hide their trembling. The envelope with the flash drive was no longer hidden beneath the cutting board, it was already on its way. She'd handed it off to Mateo, the morning delivery boy, with strict instructions and a tip big enough to buy silence. Deliver it to Angela Brooks. Tell her Maya said it's everything. Mateo didn't ask questions. He nodded, stuffed it into his canvas bag between boxes of eggs and newspaper bundles, and pedaled off into the sunrise. Now, Maya moved carefully through the halls, each step deliberate. She felt watched, not just by cameras, though she knew there were more than a dozen throughout the house, but by eyes. Suspicious ones, paranoid ones. At the far end of the hall, near the stairs that led to the master suite, Richard's security chief, Owen Clay, leaned casually against the wall, pretending to check his phone. But Maya could feel the weight of his gaze. He'd been stationed there more often since the gala, with his earpiece always in, always listening. Maya kept her head low and walked past him with a slight nod. He didn't return it. Downstairs, the breakfast service was already underway. The dining room glittered in morning light. Victoria Whitman sat at the head of the long table, her blonde hair curled and flawless, sipping grapefruit juice with one hand, scrolling her phone with the other. Maya approached slowly, setting a plate of eggs Benedict beside her. Victoria didn't look up. "You're still here?" "Yes, ma'am," Maya said softly. Victoria's hand froze mid-scroll. She looked up, her eyes sharp. "You should have packed your things last night. Richard may have acted emotionally, but I won't allow this house to become a stage for your little outbursts." Maya said nothing. "I've spoken with HR," Victoria continued. "You'll be formally released from employment by Friday. You'll be compensated for this week. I trust that will be sufficient." Maya met her gaze, voice even. "I'm not going anywhere. Though." Victoria's smile was razor thin. "Oh, but you are. Whether you walk out or are escorted out, make no mistake. The end is the same." Maya bowed slightly. "I'll clean the patio after breakfast." Victoria scoffed and returned to her phone. "Do." Maya turned and left. Behind her, she could feel Victoria watching, not with fear, but with disgust. In the staff quarters, Maya found Helen polishing the brass light switches with her usual quiet rhythm. "You gave it to the boy?" Helen asked. Maya nodded. "He's fast. Angela will have it by 9. Helen set down the cloth. "Good. You need to lay low now. Let the story work." But Maya shook her head. "He's not going to wait. I saw Owen near my door this morning. They're watching me. I don't know if it's to scare me or to trap me." Helen's jaw tightened. "Men like him don't like loose threads. You've become a threat, Maya." Maya's eyes scanned the corridor. "What if he already suspects the files are gone? Then he'll come for the originals," Helen said. "Or you." Before Maya could respond, a loud knock echoed from the front entrance. Maya stiffened. Helen peered out the small side window. A black SUV had pulled up in front of the house. Out stepped a woman in a beige trench coat with short natural curls and a leather briefcase. Maya's heart skipped. "Angela." Helen's brows rose. "She came in person? I didn't expect that." Maya rushed to the front just as the butler opened the door. "May I help you, ma'am?" he asked politely. Angela's voice was calm but firm. "Angela Brooks. I'm here to speak with Richard Whitman. This is in regard to the incident at last night's gala." Victoria's heels clicked across the tile. "Journalists don't make appointments here. Kindly leave." Angela didn't flinch. "I have a few questions. This involves more than spilled champagne and bruised egos." Victoria's tone darkened. "You have 5 seconds to walk away before I have you removed." Angela opened her briefcase slowly. From it, she removed a single photograph. She held it up. It was Marcus Williams, standing in front of the Bronx construction site, smiling. Victoria blinked. Her lips parted. Angela said softly, "This man died under questionable circumstances." Richard signed the check that silenced the case. Victoria's composure cracked just slightly. "I don't know what you're insinuating, but this is not the place." Angela turned, eyes locking with Maya's. "Maya, are you ready to speak on the record?" The air shifted. Even the butler took a step back. Maya straightened. "Yes, I am." Victoria's voice rose. This is private property. Maya spoke over her, not loud, but firm. The truth doesn't respect property lines. Owen appeared from the hallway, his face like stone. Mr. Whitman would like to speak with Miss Williams. Alone. That. Angela took a step forward. That won't happen without counsel present. Maya looked at Owen. Tell him I'll speak to him. But not in a room without windows. And not without her. She pointed to Angela. Owen's brow twitched. Then he nodded once and turned. As he walked away, Helen whispered into Maya's ear. Careful, you just became the storm he can't control. Maya swallowed, nodded once, and followed. This wasn't survival anymore. It was confrontation. Richard's private meeting room was located in the east wing of the estate, far from the grand halls, from the watchful eyes of the guests, and deeper than Maya had ever gone as a housemaid. Owen led them there without a word, his frame blocking half the hallway with each step. Maya followed with Angela just behind, her heels sharp against the Italian tile. Every footfall felt like a countdown. The room was lined with walnut paneling, bare walls, and no visible cameras, just two high, narrow windows that let in pale shafts of morning light. A glass table gleamed at the center, surrounded by 6 black leather chairs. No artwork, no warmth, a room designed for control. Richard stood by the window when they entered, back turned, sleeves rolled to the elbows, shirt collar open. He didn't greet them. Sit, he said finally, voice cool and clipped. Maya sat across from him. Angela remained standing. Richard turned slowly. His face showed the wear of a man who hadn't slept. His jaw was unshaven, his eyes bloodshot, but there was no apology in them. No fear. Just calculation. I should fire you on the spot, he said to Maya, for what you did last night. You already tried, Maya replied evenly, but I'm still here, and I'm not afraid of you anymore. Richard's lip curled. You think what? That you've exposed me? That people care what a maid screams at a party? Angela stepped forward. They do when that maid has documents. Photos, internal memos, payroll records, death reports, all connected to your developments. Richard's eyes snapped to her. You came in person for this? Angela raised her chin. I don't run stories on rumor. I run them on record. And Maya is ready to speak on the record. Unless you'd prefer I publish without your side. A flicker of panic crossed his face, but only for a second. Then he smiled, cold. You don't know what you're getting into, he said. You think a few photocopies from an office drawer can take down a man like me? Do you have any idea how many politicians owe me favors? How many judges golf with me on Saturdays? Maya's voice was calm. Then why haven't you called them yet? He blinked. You're stalling, she continued, because you're not worried about the press. You're worried about what happens after, about who else comes forward when they hear my name, about what other bodies are buried under your buildings. Richard's hand twitched. He stepped forward, placing both palms flat on the glass table. His voice dropped. You want money? Fine. Tell me the number. I'll write the check. Angela scoffed. You think this is about money? But Maya held up a hand, silencing her. She leaned forward, locking eyes with the man who had stolen so much from her life. I don't want a check, Mr. Whitman. I want my father's name back. I want people to know Marcus Williams was a man, not a line item. I want to watch your empire shake every time someone says the word murder. The word landed like a slap. Richard stood up straight, his face unreadable. Then you'd better be ready to lose everything, he said, because I won't go quietly, and I don't lose. Angela reached into her bag and pulled out a white envelope. Then consider this, the start. She slid it across the table. Filed this morning with the state attorney's office. Accompanied by an anonymous source. Not you, she added quickly to Maya. So, you can't be legally silenced. But enough to open a formal inquiry. Richard's smile wavered. Angela leaned closer. You have 2 options, Mr. Whitman. You come clean, or the walls close in around you. Slowly, loudly, and permanently. Richard stared at the envelope like it was ticking. Silence stretched between them until he finally said, Get out of my house. Maya rose without flinching. Angela followed. At the door, Maya turned once more. You killed Marcus Williams, but he left something behind. Richard's jaw clenched. Me. And with that, she stepped out of the room. Back in the hallway, her breath came fast, but steady. Angela touched her shoulder. That was brave. Maya shook her head. That was necessary. They walked together toward the front entrance. Helen stood by the stairs, watching with wet eyes. Maya gave her a small nod. Outside, the sun had risen fully. Light spilled across the stone path like a blessing. Maya looked back once. The house stood unchanged, cold, proud, impenetrable, but something inside had shifted. For the first time in 17 years, Richard Whitman was afraid. The door of the Whitman estate closed behind Maya with a soft, definitive click, a sound that felt heavier than it should have. She paused on the porch steps, the crisp morning breeze catching the hem of her uniform. The estate loomed behind her, a monument of wealth, history, and carefully maintained illusions. But today, that monument had a crack, and she had made it. Angela walked beside her, scanning the long drive toward the gate where her sedan was parked. Her tone was steady, but her fingers fidgeted with her car keys. That was more than brave, she said. It was historic. Maya gave a dry smile. Let's see if it matters by tonight. Angela unlocked the car. I've seen stories die at the printer's edge, but this one has fire. They got in. The leather seats were still warm from the Sunday. As Angela drove, Maya watched the estate grow smaller in the side mirror, like a receding memory. You were right about the pattern, Angela said as she turned onto the main road. Bronx, Brooklyn, Camden, all development zones, all involving minority labor, all with unexplained deaths and sealed settlements. I knew it wasn't just my dad, Maya said, voice soft. You were right to dig, Angela replied, but now you're exposed. We need to move fast. Maya turned toward her. What happens now? Angela's lips tightened. First, I publish a teaser. A headline, enough to draw blood, but not so much that he can block it legally. That buys us time. Maya nodded. And after? Angela hesitated. After, we go federal. Whistleblower protection, possible civil suits. Maybe even criminal charges, if we can prove intent. Maya looked out the window. He signed the payouts himself. Angela's tone darkened. Then we bury him with them. They arrived at Angela's office downtown Modest, tucked above a flower shop, with creaky floors and filing cabinets from the 1982nd. Inside, Maya handed over the remaining documents she had kept hidden in her suitcase at the estate, old memos, worksite logs, and a few internal emails from an anonymous staffer years ago. Angela scanned them quickly, eyes narrowing. This is gold. But Maya's mind wasn't on the files anymore. Angela, she said, I have to go back. Angela looked up sharply. Excuse me? Not to stay. Just for a few hours. There's one more thing. My father's journal. It's not evidence. Not legally. But it's his words. His voice. I need it. And I hid it there, in the vent behind the upstairs linen closet. Angela exhaled slowly. You realize he's watching you now, right? If you go back. I know, Maya cut in, but I won't leave it behind. He took everything else, not this. Angela considered her, then finally nodded. Then I'm going with you. Maya blinked. You? You're not walking into that house alone again. Not after last night. An hour later, they parked across from the estate. Maya had changed out of her uniform jeans, a hoodie, and sneakers. Angela had pulled her hair into a baseball cap. They looked like two joggers, not two women trying to reclaim truth from a house of lies. They slipped in through the side staff gate. Maya led the way through the garden path she had walked 1,000 times, past the hydrangeas and the stone angel with the broken wing. Every step made her skin prickle. She could feel the eyes of security, if not real, then imagined. Still, they moved quickly, ducking into the back entrance near the laundry. The house was quieter than usual. A few maids worked in the distant kitchen, but no one patrolled the upper floors. Not yet. Maya guided Angela to the second level. They passed the family portraits paintings of Richard with former presidents, framed magazine covers declaring him America's builder. At the linen closet, Maya knelt and pried off the vent cover behind the shelving. Her fingers reached deep, brushing against fabric, until they found the battered leather journal. She pulled it free, heart pounding. She opened it for a brief moment. Her father's handwriting stared back, slanted, strong. Today I saw something I shouldn't have. Nah. Angela glanced over her shoulder. Let's go. Now. But as they turned, a shadow loomed in the hallway. Owen Clay. Angela tensed. Keep walking, she whispered. Ladies, Owen said, his voice low and flat. Funny place for a jog. Maya held the journal close. We're done here. Are you? He asked, stepping forward. Because Mr. Whitman is very interested in what you're carrying. Angela pulled out her phone. Back away. I'm live streaming this. Any move you make will be seen by thousands. Owen's eyes flicked to the glowing screen. He stopped. Smart, he muttered. But you know this isn't over, right? Angela smiled coldly. That's the point. They passed him without another word, out the side gate, back to the car. When they were finally on the road again, Maya opened the journal. She flipped to the final page. Her father had written one last line, dated a week before his death. If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. You know who to look at. Maya closed the book and held it to her chest. She had found his voice again, and this time, the world would hear it. The article dropped at 7:03 a.m. the next day. Angela Brooks had kept her word. A bold headline swept across the front page of her independent news site, shared through every feed, forwarded in chain emails, whispered between office cubicles, and read aloud in diners across the country. From groundbreakers to graveyards, the silent deaths beneath Whitman Enterprises. Subheadline: Whistleblower speaks daughter of deceased worker reveals internal documents tying billionaire Richard Whitman to cover-ups, payouts, and construction fatalities spanning over a decade. The article featured Maya's voice, but not her name, not yet. Angela had made sure of that. Still, Maya knew it wouldn't take long for people to connect the dots. By noon, 3 other outlets had picked it up. By 3 o'clock, a trending hashtag had appeared, #Whitman cover-up. Maya sat on the worn couch in Angela's office, the journal still resting in her lap, half open to the page with her father's final warning. She hadn't said much all day, but her mind was racing. Not with fear, but with focus. She could feel the walls closing in on Richard Whitman, not her walls, but his own. Walls of lies, sealed payoffs, false press releases, and buried truth. They were all beginning to crumble. Angela stepped into the room holding 2 cups of coffee, her brow furrowed. We just got word, she said. The City Council's Ethics Committee is requesting a formal review of every contract Richard's company has with the city. It's starting. Oh, Maya took the coffee, her hand warming around the cup. Do you think he'll fight it publicly? Angela hesitated. He might try. But we've posted the redacted memos, the site logs, the settlement summaries. The tide's turning and fast. He can't plug all the holes now. Maya took a slow sip. Good. But deep inside, she knew it wouldn't be that easy. Men like Richard Whitman didn't go down with dignity. They clawed. They struck. And they destroyed what they could on their way out. Her phone buzzed on the table. A private number. Again. She didn't answer. Angela raised an eyebrow. That the 4th one today? 6th, Maya muttered. Probably his lawyers. Or worse, someone pretending to be. Angela sighed. You don't have to answer. But you should be careful. We'll get you a burner phone tomorrow. For now, don't talk to anyone you don't trust. Maya nodded, then stood and stretched. I need air. I'm going to the park. Angela looked uneasy. You sure that's a good idea? I won't go far. Just down the block. I'll sit where people can see me. I promise. Angela hesitated, then nodded. Take this, she said, handing her a discreet GPS tracker on a keychain. Humor me. Maya pocketed it, gave a small smile, and slipped out the office door into the fading October light. The park was quiet, shaded by sycamores, their leaves already turning gold and amber. She chose a bench facing the playground, surrounded by families and strollers, safe, visible. She pulled the journal from her bag again. There was something she hadn't dared look at before the front flap. where her father had scribbled notes and sketches during his work breaks. There, in rough pencil, was a small map, the Bronx site. He had circled one corner and scrawled, "Support beam never installed." Warned Richard. Ignored. 2 weeks later. Accident. Maya's heart pounded. This was intent. This was more than negligence, it was premeditated. She quickly took a photo and texted it to Angela. A message came back almost immediately. "Angela, that's it. That's the nail. Sending this to the legal team now. You okay?" Maya typed back, "Yeah, just needed to see it with my own eyes." But as she slipped the phone back in her pocket, she caught a movement to her left. A man across the street, tan coat, sunglasses. He wasn't looking at his phone. He was looking at her, not just a glance watching. Maya's breath caught. She stood slowly, slinging the strap of her bag across her chest. She walked casually toward the coffee cart at the corner. Didn't run. Didn't panic. The man didn't follow. He just turned, slowly, and walked the other way. But the warning had been delivered. Back at Angela's office, Maya recounted everything. Angela's jaw tightened. "You're being tailed. Probably Whitman's people, or his private security team. We'll move you somewhere safe tonight." "I'm not hiding," Maya said. "No, you're not. But you're not walking into traffic either." Angela made a few calls. A safe house was arranged, an apartment owned by a retired attorney who had once investigated corporate misconduct cases. Discreet. Off the grid. That night, Maya stood at the window of the safe apartment, watching headlights blur on the freeway. She couldn't sleep. Not yet. Not with the journal still open on the counter. The final page had something else, one more line she hadn't noticed before, scribbled beneath the warning. "If you're reading this, M, it means you were brave. Finish what I couldn't. Make them listen." Maya pressed her palm to the page, as if to touch his voice. "I will, Daddy," she whispered. "I will." Outside, the wind stirred the trees. The night was quiet. But tomorrow? Tomorrow would roar. The next morning didn't come gently. It arrived like a siren. Maya jolted awake to the sound of her burner phone buzzing relentlessly on the kitchen counter of the safe house. Her heart leapt as she reached it. 5 missed calls. 2 voicemails. 1 from Angela. 1 from a blocked number. She listened to Angela's first. Her voice was tight, clipped, urgent. "Maya, call me back as soon as you get this. We may have a problem. It looks like someone at the DA's office leaked the files. Richard might already know what's coming. Be careful. I'll update you soon." Maya gripped the edge of the counter, bile rising in her throat. A leak? She played the second voicemail. "You should have kept your head down, girl." A man's voice. Calm. Not Richard's, but someone older. Southern accent. Cold. "You don't know the kind of people you're stirring up. Last chance to walk away before it's your name in the ground next to your daddy's." Click. Maya didn't breathe for a full 10 seconds. She stood frozen, her eyes fixed on the blinking red light of the voicemail playback. Not just a warning anymore. A threat. She called Angela back immediately. The line picked up on the first ring. "Maya? I got both messages," Maya said, her voice low. "Someone called me." Angela exhaled sharply. "You recognize the voice?" "No. But it wasn't Richard. It was someone older. Professional. Like a fixer." Angela paused. "It's starting. This is how they operate: intimidation first, silence second. The moment they feel the walls closing in, they pull from the shadows." Maya paced the kitchen floor. "What do we do?" "First, we change your location. Tonight, we don't risk them tracing the phone. Second, we strike again." Maya stopped. "What do you mean?" Angela's tone shifted, cooler now, sharper. "We go public. Completely. I want your name in the article. I want your father's name, your voice, your face. We hold a press conference. We take the control out of Richard's hands. If they want to hurt you, they'll have to do it in broad daylight." Maya's stomach twisted. "That's not just exposure. That's a target." "Yes," Angela said gently. "But it's also protection. Because people will see you. And once the public sees a face, a real one, they stop being bystanders." Silence stretched between them. Then Maya said, "Okay, let's do it." Angela gave her the details. A public space. A trusted crew. Live-streamed. The safest route into vulnerability was through visibility. That night, Maya was relocated to a hotel room near Central Park, under a pseudonym, with a private entrance and round-the-clock security donated by a pro bono advocacy group. Still, every knock at the door made her jump. Every passing voice in the hallway made her hands shake. She pulled the curtains closed and sat on the edge of the bed with her father's journal. The hotel was modern, impersonal, designed to look luxurious but feel temporary. She didn't unpack. Angela arrived just before 10 p.m., laptop and folders in hand. "We've got one shot," she said, opening her device. "Tomorrow morning, we go live. You'll speak for about 5 minutes. We've vetted the questions. The platform's secure. But once it's out there forever." Maya sat across from her. "That's exactly what I want." Angela opened the folder. "These are the documents we'll post after the stream. The complete archive. Memos. Death records. Settlements. The photograph of your father. And your name attached to every page." Maya skimmed the first few sheets, her throat tightening. She saw the letter her father had written to the Construction Oversight Board just weeks before his death, raising safety concerns, requesting anonymous protection. The letter had been stamped. Received. No action taken. "I'm going to read this," Maya said. "At the press conference." Angela nodded. "That's your right. But be prepared, Richard will retaliate. Not through lawyers. Through character attacks. False narratives. He'll make you look like a liar, a gold digger, an unstable woman with a vendetta." "I don't care," Maya whispered. "Let him. I'm not here to be believed by him, I'm here to be heard by everyone else." Angela closed the folder. "Then let's rehearse." They practiced for hours. Maya's voice cracked the first few times. She stumbled over her father's name. She cried once, but only once. By midnight, she could read the statement with clarity. Measured, personal, strong. "I am Maya Williams. My father, Marcus, was killed on a job site run by Richard Whitman. He wasn't the first. He won't be the last unless we speak, unless someone stands up." Angela looked at her when it ended. "That right there? That's going to burn through the noise." Maya offered a small smile, exhausted but steady. "Then we let it burn." The next morning, just after sunrise, they entered the press building through the back entrance. A dozen reporters waited inside. The live stream was already counting down. Microphones gleamed on the podium. Maya took her place behind it. She saw the cameras flash. A sea of faces, some skeptical, some concerned, some simply curious. She took a breath, opened her father's journal to the final page, and began to speak. "I am not here today because I want to be. I am here because silence has a cost. And my family already paid it." As her words echoed through the speakers and into homes, phones, and boardrooms across the nation, somewhere across town, in a high-rise office overlooking the city, Richard Whitman stood with his phone in hand, watching the live stream. His jaw tightened. He didn't blink. Behind him, Owen Clay entered quietly and said, "We have a problem." "No," Richard whispered, almost to himself. "No, we have a war." Richard Whitman stood motionless in his corner office, the floor-to-ceiling glass reflecting the blue-gray sky above Manhattan. Below, traffic churned like a restless sea, and yet his world was still eerily still. On the tablet in his hand, Maya's face stared back at him from a paused live stream. She stood at that podium like she belonged there. Steady. Controlled. Her father's journal in her hands like a sword. He hadn't expected that. He had underestimated her again. The double doors behind him opened quietly. Owen Clay entered, his expression unreadable. "We've lost containment," he said. Richard didn't look at him. "Define containment." "Media coverage is expanding. The New York Times wants a statement. The Justice for Labor Rights group just issued a petition. And the Department of Labor's director tweeted a quote from Maya's speech an hour ago." Richard finally turned. His face was pale, jaw tight, veins rising under skin stretched too thin. "What's the internal assessment?" 20% drop in pre-market shares," Owen replied. "Boards requesting an emergency session. Legals recommending a temporary leave of absence, optics only." Nothing permanent. Richard laughed short, bitter. A leave? They want me to step down for a PR stunt? Owen said nothing. He knew better than to answer when Richard's voice dropped to that register. I built this company. I made those cowards rich. And they think I'll roll over because a maid found a dusty box of paperwork in a dead man's diary? Owen finally stepped closer, choosing his words with precision. It's not just the files. It's the story. Her father. Her voice. She's not a headline. She's a symbol now. Richard's eyes darkened. Then symbols need to be destroyed. Owen hesitated. You sure you want to go that route? Richard stepped forward, looming. Do you think I got here by playing nice, Owen? You think I built this empire by backing down from little storms? He slammed his fist on the desk, making the tablet jump. I covered my tracks. Every file that leaked came from her. She broke into my office. That's theft.